Hi, I wanted to come on here and do a quick review about The Hate You Give, the movie. Um, I would say that there's no spoilers here. However, being if you've seen at all any previews or trailers for this movies, there's not really surprises there, except for, of course, the ending, I guess, decision. Um, so I do not believe I can spoil this movie for you, no matter what I did, okay? Anyway, The Hate You Give. First off, I want to say this book, I read the book first, okay? I'm going to start with the title itself because it's THUG, which is thug. And like Tupac Shakur had tattooed on his body, life is the next word there. So it's The Hate You Give, life. Little infants fucks everyone. Meaning, the racism, the hate, the ugliness that you give to young children is what you then get to experience in a society that you put this young child in when they grow up. You end up fucking everyone along the way, okay? That's the true title of this. The book was so good. I actually listened to the Audible, but it was such a good book. This is very close to my heart because I'm a black woman. I have black children, black father, black grandfather, uncles, cousins, you know the drill. And with the state of this world today, this movie brings it home. It brings it home. This movie is not going to get the amount of attention or money in my eyes that it deserves in any way, but I guess it is what it is. So I'm going to start with the actors in this movie. Amanda Steinberg, she plays Star, and you know her, of course, as Prue, from the Hunger Games. And she was also in, more recently, Everything, Everything. Good little love movie between two teenagers. Man, I have to stop saying Sorry, guys. Okay, the next one I'm going to speak about is KJ Apa. Okay, he plays her boyfriend in this movie. He's a white guy. We know him from Riverdale, okay? He plays Archie in Riverdale, so he's, a little redhead. Good-looking guy. He's from Australia, apparently, and that shocked me because naturally he has an accent that he completely drops to play these roles. I digress. Next, I'll go on to Regina Hall, who plays her mother. And if you don't know Regina Hall, I don't know where the hell you've been. So we know Regina Hall from, wow, so many, wow, I can't believe I'm sitting here right now. Okay, The Best Man. Wait, was she even in there? No, not that one. She was in, oh my gosh, if you know Regina Hall, you know I'm blank right now. What? Wow. Okay, so anyway, we'll go on to Russell Hornsby, who plays the dad. And Russell Hornsby very recently starred in 7 Seconds, which is on Netflix, which I highly recommend if you have not seen. All right. He was also in Fences, that movie with Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. And apparently he starred in Grimm, I guess a TV show for a few years there. Then we have, I know I'm not saying this young man's name right, but I couldn't find anything that did the enunciation of it. So it's Algee, what is that, Algee Smith? He plays Khalil in this movie. And we know him from the New Edition movie that was on BET this past year. Excellent movie. He did a great job in that. He was also in Detroit, which is in the movie theaters last year. I went and saw that. Very good movie. And he was also in the Bobby Brown story that was recently on TV on BET. Good acting young man. Very handsome. All right, the last one I'm going to point at here is Issa Rae. I love me some Issa Rae. Okay. I watched her Adventures of the Awkward Girl show that she had on YouTube. I read her book in the same name. And of course, her whole show Insecure on HBO is a smash hit. We love it. Keep it coming. All right, so anyway, this movie focuses on Star. Star lives in the hood of California. In the hood, yeah, I'm safe to say that. Her parents are married. Her parents got together when they were very young. Her parents ended up splitting up sometime along the way. Dad had a baby with somebody else. Parents got back together. That baby produced Seven's older brother named, or I'm sorry, Star's older brother named Seven, and her mother loves that young man like her own. So when he's part of the family. Period. Dad went to jail. Dad was involved in gangs. Dad went to jail for a couple years. At that point, Star's mother's brother steps in and becomes a father figure to her while her father is locked up. And that role is played by Common. Surprise role there. I didn't realize he was in this movie. He did a great job. Anyway, this movie begins with Star explaining basically that she lives in the hood. Her parents are married. Her father owns a grocery store, bodegas type store in the area, and her mother is a nurse. And they don't go to school in their area where they live in. Her mother drives them pretty far. They go to a private school, upscale school, and that's where, you know, she has her white boyfriend at, which is where this KJ Alpa comes in. Anyway, so she explains that she lives two lives. One in the hood around, you know, her black folks, and the other that she goes to school and being around all the white folks. Basically, when she's at school, she can't really go wrong. Just because she's black, she's popular, she's sort of the shit just by being her. Whereas when she goes around to black folks, it's quite a bit different because it's not that easy with them. Anyway, this movie begins with her going to a party with her cousin in the hood, and while they're there, her cousin, I'm sorry, that's not her cousin. That is her brother's sister. So when I said earlier that her dad had a baby with somebody else, her brother's mother's daughter. Gosh. Anyway, yeah, she went to the party with her, and she's quite a bit ratchet. I'm going to say that. She's a little hood, this sister girl. They're hanging out there, and she has beef with whoever, and Star is sort of, well, she's quite a bit uncomfortable. Honestly, wishes she'd stay home because this is not her cup of tea. So while she's sitting there on the wall, sort of to herself because her sister friend ran off with her friends, Khalil comes in. Now, Khalil is a friend of hers for life. They've been together since they were very little. Apparently, his grandmother used to babysit Star while her mother went to school and to work. So, I mean, literally from like taking baths together when they were little, they're that close. So anyway, he comes in and they're all surprised because they haven't seen each other in quite a while because, of course, she goes to school in a different area and she works at her father's grocery store, and he's been up to things. And she kind of heard maybe that he might have started selling drugs. She's not sure. But she's peeping the diamond studs in his earrings and his new shoes. And, you know, she's kind of wondering. Anyway, they're very happy to see each other. They're greeting each other. They clown on each other as friends do. And before you know it, you hear gunshots going off in the party. So everyone scatters. Everyone leaves. And at that point, Khalil grabs her hand and he's like, come with me, come with me. And he takes her to his car, and they get in the car and they're driving off. And they're both talking, sort of catching up. What have you been up to? What have you been up to? And, you know, he's asking her about her white school, you know, like, what's up with that? And she's like, it is what it is. I go to school there. And she, in a way, without coming directly out and asking him, she's asking him, you know, what are you doing? How are things going? And he explains that his grandmother is sick, that she has cancer, and that she lost her job because apparently when she got sick with the cancer and needed the treatment, and mind you, grandma works at a hospital. I don't know what she does there, but I'm sure it's not anything high paying. But basically she needed, you know, to do chemo, she has to do things, and the hospital where she worked at fired her because, anyway, I'm gonna go on. So, as, you know, they stop and they're talking, sitting in the car, just talking, catching up, and she exclaims that Khalil was actually her first kiss, like he was first for her. And at this particular point in the movie, Khalil leans over and plants one on her, and she's like, Khalil, I have a boyfriend. And he's like, I know. He says something to the extent, but that's just for now. It's real sweet, whatever happens between them. Anyway, they take off and they're driving, and at this point they get pulled over. When they get pulled over, Star had already flashed back and told us about the conversation that her father had with her brother Seven, and then she has a younger brother too, I can't remember his name. The conversation that every black family has to have with their children. I'm sure that some other brown people have to have this conversation too. But her father told her, when a cop pulls you over, you follow what they say. Don't tell them anything. Answer only what is asked. Don't give them anything else. Keep your hands where they can see them. Don't make any sudden moves. So she's following along as the cop is, standing there, pulled them over. She puts her hands on the dashboard and she's in the passenger seat, and Khalil's just, he's sort of nonchalant with it, whatever. Like, why the hell are we being pulled over? Which is what anyone thinks when they're getting pulled over, by the way. So the cop comes over and he's like, I need to see your license and registration. And Khalil's like, why? Why? What did I do? And he's like, I think he said you made an illegal turn or used it, whatever bullshit. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. It was something very small, minor. And he's like, no, I didn't. And the cop's like, yes, you did. So anyway, at this point, Khalil reaches for the license, registration, and hands them to the police officer. And the cop is, gosh, I can't remember the little innuendos he's made in regards to, what are you doing? Where are you going? Khalil's like, why? It's little bit of attitude between the two, nothing huge. So the cop tells him, get out of the car. And he's like, why? He's like, just get out of the car. And Khalil, completely like we would all be, why do I need to get out of the car? So he makes him get out of the car, and he's standing facing the door of the car, Khalil is. And the cop's like, stay right here. And he goes off to the car, running, identification, whatever. And prior to this, you had seen Khalil with his little brush in the car. He's that guy that always needs to brush his hair. And he walks from where he was at, like a step over, and he's leaning in the window talking to Star, and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, do what he said. She's like stiff with fear, and he's like, oh, don't worry about this, blah, blah, blah. He leans in the car, and he grabs the brush that he was previously brushing his hair with. And he stands from the car, and he's literally in the motion like this with the brush. And the next thing, you hear the gunshots fire. One immediately sort of snatches him out of Star's view because she's standing there looking like, what the hell? And then there's a second one, and maybe three. Few shots rang out, and Star's freaked the F out. So she's like screaming. She runs out of the car, runs over to the other side, and she's trying to check on her best friend who is dying right now. And the cop pulls the gun on her, and he's like, what are you doing? Get away, show me your hand. And she's like crying, and she's like, what did you do? Anyway, I don't want to give you play-by-play back, but I want you to get a good idea of exactly what happened at the beginning of this movie. It goes on to basically, they're trying to decide if they're going to, what they're going to do with this cop, if anything needs to be done with him, if he has done anything wrong, okay? So, like I told you earlier, Common is her uncle, who's a police officer, apparently on the same force here. What this boils down to with everything, they show Star going to school. They show you her crazy relationship with her boyfriend, who, by the way, their love, a little love thing that they share in this movie is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And they definitely go into this further in the book. Little jokes that they'll tell, dances they do. If you know the French of Bel-Air, you can definitely get into this little portion of it because it's cute to, every couple has their little thing. So it's that. It's the girls that she hangs around with at school. Sky hangs around with a white girl at her school and an Asian girl at her school. And the white girl is low-key racist, okay? I don't even know if I can call it low-key because I would have smacked the hell out of that child multiple times throughout this movie. But, so we see that. We see in her home area, I told you she stays in the hood and her dad's store is not too far away. And I told you dad has baby with other woman, Seven, her brother. Well, other woman she's a ghetto girl. Wow. Okay, so she's with this dude who is in the gang that Star's father used to be in. And when I say used to be in, he did time for him for, gosh, his baby mama, because he's married to Star's mom, so this other chick is baby mama. So he used to be in the gang with baby mama's man. And he did time for him, and in doing time for him, he was able to cut ties with the gang, which led him to focus on his family and be the good man that he is today. Anyway, you're going to see so many different things that go on here. Relationships, Star having to play the role she does in 2 different ways, and then actually having to go in and testify against a police officer. The immediate view, I love how the media immediately, they want to take this young man, he's a thug, he's this, he's a drug dealer. It'll expose a couple things about that to you. Ultimately, I cried a lot. I did. I'm like, it's really hard to see this stuff happen again and again, and I'm sick of it. I'm so freaking sick of it. And sometimes it feels really good when once in a while a cop is, found guilty of what he's done. You don't get to just kill black folks and walk away like it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? And anyhow, highly recommend this movie. It's very good. I guess if I had to give this movie a score, I would give it an 8.5. I don't think it's perfect, but I think the message is so important, and I think if you're for it, you should watch it. If you're not for it, you should watch it. You can learn from this movie. You can learn about the different roles and I know everyone has their own point of view that they're coming from, but different people have to play different roles in a society, and what I mean that they showed very well is the role she plays at home in her neighborhood and at school with all the rich white folks, okay? And we all know this because we all go to work. And another thing that I totally want to sidebar say here, there's this other movie I watched called, what is it? Sorry to Disturb You. Oh my gosh. Okay, they took that whole idea of how you act at home and how you act at work, and they ran with it. It's like crazy, stupid, funny. If you get a chance, look that movie up because it really shows exactly that different role that we play. Anyway, if you haven't already, like my video, become a subscriber. I'm going to start doing this regularly. I kind of like it. Thanks for stopping by.